All right. We got the green light from Bobby, so that means that we're good to go. A little bit after 9 o'clock here on a Wednesday, after a very busy weekend. Stephen Byer, Doc Holliday is here with us in spirit. He might not be here right now. We might get Doc Holliday on there. As everyone knows, Doc Holliday is a man of many talents. So, hey, if we don't have him on tonight, it's probably well worth it for a night of rest. But we still got Stephen J right here alongside me, Bobby Blackjack, here on Blackjack TV, channel 114 and coming off an amazing weekend, really. I mean, what could be better than that first weekend of March Madness where you have 2 straight days of from 12 to basically 12, 4 games each at a time. If you were like me and you're a little insane, you might have had 4 games going on your TV, on your computer, watching it all at once, ready for your eyes to explode, trying to keep it all on every game. Or you might have just watched it one at a time and maybe even on Friday went out for a drink and then kind of drink your sorries away after a bad Thursday, Friday, and the first night of an NCAA bracket. But I think that's where we got to start off today, Bobby. But before we get into that, how are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Like I said, great weekend. Little weekend up at the Villa. Weird schedule. I was there Thursday night, DJ'd off on Friday, which was kind of weird, but it was St. Patrick's Day. I gotta tell you, Steve. I know after your performances and you do some late night bingo, you like having your beer or two after your performance, right? They did
Mm-hmm.
not have Guinness up there for St. Patrick's Day. I was
That's a
actually I'm not a
sin.
Guinness drinker, but I was actually craving a Guinness on St. Patrick's Day, and they didn't have any.
I feel like that's it's an Italian resort too. I mean, Guinness to them is probably they probably got red wine and they got all the Italian types of stuff. But
They got
Guinness there, I mean, you
Peroni, right?
find yeah, yeah, you find anything Irish up there at the Villa. That means that they're probably trying to find their way or they're lost. But no Guinness there. That's a sin on St. Patrick's Day. But I mean, as far as I mean, was there anything going on? I know that there was DJ Bobby McBlackjack on Friday. What was the
That,
entertainment
that was that
Thursday,
was Saturday.
Friday,
That was Saturday.
Saturday?
That was Saturday in front of 6 guests, but it was fun.
All right, all right. And then was it Tommy Walker on Friday or Saturday?
Yeah, Tommy Walker was there Friday.
Yeah.
You know
Hey,
what?
that'd
I
be a
was so
great guest to
enthralled.
come on.
I was so enthralled with the games on and doing some stuff that I never left my room all night. I was just watching basketball. I was into it. Like I said, it was a great weekend of sports.
Hmm. And hey, before we even get started, but we did mention Tommy Walker. That'd be a great guest to get on too, because he is a diehard Mets fan. I think he's a Jet fan like me, which is very unfortunate. But he especially loves his Mets too. So kind of getting into the baseball season on the horizon, that'd be a great get for Tommy Walker. You know him. I mean, he pees charisma. He is all over it. But before we get started on that, these last couple shows, Bobby, I'm always saying how I love the setup that you got. We got Doc Holliday in his wonderful house in the Catskills. And I've been everywhere from my little room at Oswego, which we are broadcasting live now from. We're up by Lake Ontario here with the snow. It was 40 degrees, which is almost like shorts weather up here. But yeah, I was in the basement last week because I was back on Long Island. So this week, I'm like, all right, I'm back. I'm going to be doing a lot of shows from here. So I don't know if you can see behind me, Bobby, but we got a pretty
I saw
okay
that.
setup, right?
Okay.
We got the little sign. We got the Yankees up there. We got the Arnold Palmer right there. We got some signs behind me. We
There you go.
got
There you go.
repping Oswego with the towel, the whiteout weekend. We got we got the lights going on right now. I just had to do a little bit of a setup, a little cleaner look because Lord knows I got to clean up around here. But
Looking
I
good.
mean, hey, look good, feel good, right? And we got a whole slate to talk about. But we got to start off with March Madness. Like we said, I mean, they call it that for a reason, even though that, looking at the bracket, it always pans out. But that first day, 4 games each at a time, basically for 12 hours straight, brackets busted, dreams busted, money lost down the tubes. It was really a fun day of games. And of course, we had a couple of Cinderella teams. Of course, we had a couple of rompers, whether you're Alabama, whether you're Princeton, whether you're Fairleigh Dickinson, which is funny because the Oswego head coach here, he's very good friends with the Fairleigh Dickinson, now I want to
Iona.
say Iona coach, right? Because we had a little bit of a coaching carousel there. He actually coached with him in Division 3, our head coach Jason Leone and the new Iona coach. There's a little bit of a connection there, but we had so many fun games. Bobby, I don't know how much you watched because we know that you were doing a lot Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But let's start off with you. Was there any one game that stuck out to you that really kind of stole your attention that first day of round one March Madness basketball?
I'm not gonna get the days correct, but I'll give you my thoughts of the first round. Absolutely, for me, had to have been FDU, a school that's literally they play their home games about 10 minutes from where I am right now. So it was really cool to see that local team, and of course Princeton made it as well. But to see them first on the first four breakthrough, and then had the absolute perfect game plan against Purdue. Think about it. They were the smallest team in NCAA Division One basketball. There were probably teams in D2, like school, D2 or whatnot, even D3 that would have bigger teams than FDU that had this year. And not only did they beat Purdue, but they beat the Player of the Year. I forget the guy's name, but he's 7'4". So
Zach
a lot of
Edey, I think it is on Purdue.
what's that?
I think his name is Edey, Zach Edey,
Yeah, exactly.
who makes, I think it's the fifth most money in NCAA in terms of NIL. And Edey, even though he dropped 21 and 15, he should be ashamed of himself. I mean, the smallest team in the NCAA, and every time he touched the ball, they did what every team tries to do. They double teamed him in the paint, tried to get the ball out of his hands. It seemed like every time he touched the ball and they went to double him, he either threw it away, he turned it over. In a big game like that against a number 16 team, a small team like that, I mean, he did not, the box score looked good, but overall, it was a very sloppy game for Edey. And I think, that loss is on him for your star player. If he don't play well, no one else is going to play well. So that's definitely agree with you on that with Purdue. And those Jersey teams, like you said, coming back up to Oswego. I did pass Fairleigh Dickinson. I think that was on Saturday. And I was passing by there and I was looking by. I gave him a little salute. I said, hey, nice job. Didn't look like anyone was really celebrating. It was pretty quiet. But yeah, those Jersey teams, like you said, Princeton, even last year we had the Jersey team pull off a upset as well, the little Cinderella
Peters, yeah.
team. So St. Peter's, it's just something about that Jersey water, I guess, that makes everyone go mad in March.
Yeah, it's the second year in a row, and it's great to see. And it's good for the local sports scene here. Yeah, you're not going to see too much of FDU. While there are dorms there, it's predominantly a commuter school. So
Hmm.
there aren't probably a lot of fans running around at this point. And you mentioned earlier Tobin Anderson, the coach who took him there and brought three of his players from St. Thomas Aquinas, which is up the Hudson a little bit from us, from where I am right now. He jumped to the Iona job. Hey, you know what? You cannot fault the guy because he's a lifer. He's not some guy who had a couple years D3, a couple years D2, and then screwed FDU. Now he had a lot of time in D2 and D3. He earned what he worked himself to be into, and he took a job in Iona where, hey, you know what? He does well again. He'll go somewhere else pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole thing. It's amazing how, specifically college, because college they get it done right away. I mean, whether it's professional sports, there's a whole different hiring chain, but really for college, I mean there is like it happens before it's even official. They're talking while they're still under contract. It's amazing. I mean, what is it? Rick Pitino lost, and within an hour, he essentially took the St. John's job.
Yeah, we'll go there in a second because I have a
Yeah.
whole thoughts about that. Being
Hmm.
in the Big East and covering the Big East. So yeah,
Oh
we'll
yeah, but
get back to that in a little bit.
yeah, but I mean the whole chain that goes on there, and you can't fault them one bit. I mean, FDU, they weren't even supposed to be in the tournament. They really made the most out of their opportunity there. Where the team that was in front of them, they weren't even eligible to make the NCAA tournament. So you know what? God bless, they got in. They've they've pulled off a little Cinderella run in that first game there. It's a shame that they couldn't pull it off because they pull off an upset on Thursday, then you lose on Saturday, and when Monday comes around, you have all these slated games. It's like it never happened. You get into the Sweet 16. That's when everyone's talking about it on Monday. But coming off a loss, it seems like that kind of magic is a little bit gone. So it's a shame that they couldn't get out of that second round. But like you said, I mean, why leave on a sour note, right? Why have the team say, all right, thank you for everything that you did, but we're just gonna have to go our separate ways. I mean, that's the way you want to go out for, especially a school like FDU. He's a legend now. He's king of the castle there. He brought them to the NCAA tournament. Not only that, they won a game against the best team, or one of the best teams in the country, at least one of the best record-wise. And
And
he went to a better opportunity.
exactly, and they were legitimately. It was legitimately the number one seed in the March Madness, Purdue, against really the number 64 seed team. St. Peter's last year, I think they were a little bit higher. They were at the bottom feeder team of the bracket last year. So even though that was a tremendous upset as well, this was literally David against Goliath. What the best seeded team, the highest seeded team versus the lowest seeded team, and hey, he called it out. He was confident. He knew he had the game plan to do something with his team. So,
oh my goodness, that's like the guarantee. Like that's going to go down in like college basketball history, maybe even like sports history of just Lions. The more I watch Purdue, the more I think we can beat them. And that's one thing having it circle around after the game, but having that circle around before the game, being the David to the Goliath, the number 64 against a 29-5 team in Purdue. I mean that's crazy having that all come out and everyone was making fun of him and laughing. He got the last laugh. And he obviously he knew what he was looking at there, but that was a crazy quote right there. Oh my goodness. But yeah, he got a great job in Iona. FDU, it's tough to compete with other schools. That's just the way it works in NCAA. So Iona's got a good program. It's an easier conference. So I'm sure he's going to do a great job.
Yeah, and I'm sure Rick Pitino left the pantry pretty well stocked. Oh, by the way, before we go any further, I read this in my Seton Hall basketball group, and the administrators and the moderators have our own little private chat going on. Someone had mentioned before there are currently 750 players in the transfer portal. That is insane.
That's just what college is now, between the transfer portal and NIL. It's not your father's college sports anymore. It is ridiculous. It's all about being, it's all about the brand. It's all about, I'm not getting any playing time. All right. I'm not gonna have to worry about sitting out the next year. I'm gonna go to this place. And look what happened to Caleb Williams. He hit that transfer portal as soon as Lincoln Riley left. He went out the door with him. They waltzed out together. In between all the NIL money going to all these different schools. I don't know if you follow the NCAA women's tournament, but there's the we were talking about like the highest paid NIL players right above Zach Edey. It's the oh man, I might butcher their last name. The Cavallari twins or the Cavallari twins. They're both on Miami. They're making almost $1 million in NIL. They went to Miami. They transferred there. And it's just what college basketball is now, or college sports in general is. Love it or hate it, it definitely adds a little bit more of an exciting element to it. I kind of enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie. It's a circus college, and for me, I love chaos.
Yeah, I know last year on the UConn, Paige, her name, they call her Paige Buckets. Paige Buchers had a pretty big deal last year as well for the women's basketball. Yeah, women's basketball. I'll watch the Final Four and stuff when they play that. I do follow. I was happy to be there on Monday night. I was able to. My Lady Seton Hall Pirates made it to the second round of the WNIT, and unfortunately got blown out by Syracuse. But it was fun to really experience a little March Madness for myself for the first time and witness it and whatnot. So
there you go. That's awesome.
To get back to your original question, what game stood out for you round one?
Well, the one that immediately pops out to my head is the Furman, Virginia game. Tony Bennett, my goodness. If he, didn't get enough respect if he didn't get enough respect in March to begin with, or a lack thereof, this certainly isn't going to help. Losing to the 16, being the first team, losing to a 16 seed ever in 2018, I want to say. And then, having this whole brain fart with, 5 seconds left, throwing the ball up in the air. Who knows what the kid is? I looked at the video, and I don't know if anyone's ever, talked about this, but where Furman's sitting, he's right on the logo. It could be easy to miss him. He's trying to throw it over there. You can see the Virginia guy in the white uniform, but you got the blue on blue right there with that guy standing right there on the logo. I think that's what happened. I think he got lost there. He did not see him. Throws it up in the air, but in just the most bizarre play you'll ever see, just seeing it live, you're like, what am I watching here? And of course, that led to the insane Furman three. The steal, making the three is even more impressive than just, having a boneheaded move like that. But they took what they gave them. And Virginia, again, there are just some teams in men's basketball, whether you can be a Syracuse or a Michigan State, where if you get in, you're going to the Sweet 16, you're going to the Elite Eight, you're making a run. Or you could be a team like Virginia, like Purdue, like any team Shaka Smart coaches, and it's when you get to March when you shrivel down. So I mean, Virginia, they do have a national championship under their belt, but other than that, I mean, losing in the first round twice, a premier program like that. I'm not sure where they finished last year, but I mean that Furman Virginia game, just from the start, they had them on their heels, and that's what you have to do against a very good team like Virginia or any team like that. You know, very top program in NCAA. Usually they're thinking Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Final Four. If you can get them rattled early on in that first round, it's all a mental game from there.
Exactly. And if that guy, Tony Bennett, like I said, did not win the national championship a couple of years back, that guy should be out in the street somewhere. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but hey, you can't lose in the first. You can't be a blue blood program like Virginia and lose in the first round like this repeatedly. You know.
To Furman. To Furman. I mean, if you just get a bad draw and you're going up against, another good team or another, premier blue collar NCAA team, that's fine. But just going up against, Furman, a team like that won an easy conference because they're usually in the tournament, Furman's. But I mean, just that's a game that, oh my goodness. And there were a lot of teams that squeaked out, even if they didn't lose. I know Xavier was on the ropes for a little bit. They came back in the second half. Princeton, Arizona. We mentioned Princeton earlier. That Arizona game, that's another team too. I mean, Arizona, another very good conference. But I mean, Princeton just shot the lights out. I mean, offensively, I mean, they were great on defense too, but they just fought fire with fire against just in this tournament offensively. I don't remember the score of that, but Arizona's another team too. Where just that upset that killed a lot of brackets. Everyone was thinking Arizona could possibly sneak in there going into the Elite Eight against Alabama. It didn't happen there too. So another Alabama loss. Princeton there, my goodness. And
Princeton
was on the play.
Princeton can legitimately win this game. I'm not sure they play tomorrow or Friday, but they can legitimately win the Sweet 16 game. They're that good.
Yeah, they could. I mean, they go up.
They play defense. That's what defense.
They play defense. I mean, they blew out Missouri offensively. They're great, and then against Arizona, like we said, it was a very kind of low score, and they grinded it out with them. So they earned that win against Arizona, where offensively in the second round against Missouri, they blew them away, but also they won a game by defense against Arizona in that first round. So I mean, two very good schools in Missouri and Arizona. Of course, if you're Creighton, you could be, very shaken on your boots. But I do love Coach McDermott for Creighton. I mean, no one shoots the three ball like them. Incredibly well coached. I think it's their third Sweet 16 in a row or second Sweet 16 out of three in a row.
At least,
Another, great program. I'd love to see a Creighton-Alabama matchup, and that's what I think we do see. But Princeton's not going to give them anything. I mean, Creighton has definitely earned it in respectively too. I don't think they get enough credit to Creighton. I know that there were some people that were not high on them at all going into the tournament, had them losing in the first round to NC State. But I mean, Creighton Princeton, even though it doesn't look sexy on paper, that's going to be a fun game to watch too.
Hey, don't forget Creighton in the preseason was in a lot of websites and publications. It was like a top 5, top 10 team in the preseason for predictions. So they lived up to it and then some. Now, who did not live up to it, real quick, Marquette, who I did two brackets. I did two brackets, like I mentioned, like Thursday morning before 12:15. In the one I picked Marquette, and obviously I'm busted. The other one I have Gonzaga, who I think if Gonzaga wins it, I'm gonna be pretty high up there. So we'll see what happens. And Gonzaga looked pretty good. I love that. What's his name? Drew Timme.
Drew Timme.
That guy can play, man. The mustache. That guy can play.
The mustache. He's even got another year of eligibility too, which I had no idea about. He's 22 going on 23. He can even come back to Gonzaga next year if he really wants to. I believe he was an All-American this year. I believe he's Gonzaga's all-time leading scorer. If not,
yes,
he's well on his way to be if he does. Yeah, that's what I figured. But I mean, that's the game that you're looking forward to in this Sweet 16 matchup, Gonzaga UCLA. I mean, despite what it is, player for player, that's just an amazing head coaching matchup. I love Mick Cronin for UCLA. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Even getting the team, I mean, they were dealt a bad hand too, with injuries. I mean, coming off the round of 32, I think they lost one of their guards. The name is I'm spacing on the name there, but they have two injuries to both their starters. They lost their best defensive player before the tournament. So just the fact that UCLA is back in here in the Sweet 16 against Gonzaga, that's going to be my favorite matchup to watch going into there. Just because, I mean, Mick Cronin has turned this UCLA team around, and he's one of my favorite coaches. Now, it's not just because he dresses up in a full suit and tie, which is rare these days, but he's got them buying in, and every time they're in March, I mean, they were a Cinderella team a year or two ago, and now going up against Gonzaga. That's the matchup of the year. It's going to be just offense on offense, and it's who's going to stop Drew Timme. At the end of the day, you could talk about all these different gadget players, but you got to beat the star in college, and Timme, he's no one stopped them yet. But Gonzaga's got the longest win streak, I think, in college basketball right now at 11. So they're humming too. So it's almost unstoppable force, immovable object. Even though they did lose their best defensive player for UCLA, they still play great defense. They're a fun team to watch. That's got to be the matchup that I'm looking forward to, the Sweet 16. Anyone else that you're thinking of, or do you think that that's the matchup? Because I know we got Alabama, SDU. We got the very sexy Florida Atlantic versus Tennessee.
By the way,
there's a lot of other good games.
By the way, Florida Atlantic. I don't know if you saw my Facebook post a couple days ago. I was watching that game Sunday night and realized I do a lot of broadcasting for St. Mary's High School in Rutherford, and
Really?
one of the players on Florida Atlantic was their star player about 3 years ago. And
Really?
after graduating, he went to school, I believe in Indiana, a prep school, to get stronger and play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Then last year he was hurt, so he missed all year. So I believe he's still a freshman as far as eligibility, averaging about 8 points a game, and he had the game-winning layup in the first round when they beat Memphis. So
Really?
so I'm looking forward to watching him play. I think tomorrow night.
There you go. I mean,
right here in the
8 points
Garden.
as a freshman.
Yeah, right here in the Garden. I'm sure he'll have a huge contingent of local fans going to check him out. His uncle is Fred Hill, who was former head coach of Rutgers and assistant coach at Seton Hall. And he's a legend here in New Jersey. So I'm looking forward to that. I would see real quick. Speaking of New Jersey basketball, I have a quick homework assignment for you. And when you see this, if you thought that, and if you thought the end of the Furman game was nuts, check out. It's probably somewhere on YouTube. It has to be. But check out I believe it's the NJCU, the New Jersey Division III playoffs. There was a last-second shot and sequence that was even more miraculous and spectacular than the one at Furman versus Virginia.
Really? And was it based off of like a turnover like Virginia, or was it just?
It was almost the same thing. It was, again, I could be wrong. I saw it once and I was amazed. I believe the winning team was down 4 with like 8 seconds to go. Inbound the ball. So instead of going for 3, they go for, again, I could be wrong. They go for 2. So now they're down, instead of down 4, they're down 2. So on the inbounds, I guess they get it in with the pressure, and then the kid chucks it.
And this was this year, you said?
Yeah, just a couple days ago, last week.
Okay.
So the kid chucks it, and unlike Furman, where the guy intercepted the pass, dribbled a couple steps, then took the 3, this kid is almost falling out of bounds as he catches the ball, chucks the ball towards the backboard, bank shot, win by 1.
All right, here we go. All right, I got it on.
All right.
Steals the ball from the hash, almost off the bank. And the score was 71-70. And oh my goodness.
Yeah, right before that, again, it was, instead of going for 3, they went for the layup, which is a little surprising, but
They went for it looked like when he inbounded it, he tipped it.
Yeah, it might have been tipped
off the inbounds.
Yeah, but something crazy happens. The guy intercepts it, falling out of bounds, chucks the ball up, bank shot, March Madness, win the game.
Man, that's what to paraphrase Moneyball, how can you not be romantic about March Madness? That's that made the lead Scott Van Pelt best thing he saw. So that's an insane shot. I hope he yelled Kobe before I did that. I mean, and that's a small guard too. The guy defending him was a few inches taller than him. That's a wild shot. So anyone listening right now, definitely look that up. He said it was NJCU Division III men's basketball buzzer beater. Yeah, just a couple days ago. That's wild. Oh my goodness, that's March for you,
That's
and
March
that's
for you.
that's March for you. And did you fill out a second chance bracket? Because I filled out a second chance bracket. I mean, for me in my leagues, I'm just middle of the pack. A lot of people above me. The leader right now, and a couple of mine have guys like Purdue and Arizona, so we're gonna see them slip. But there are guys below me that have people that are still in it in my rankings. So a lot of people have Alabama. I have Alabama and Houston and two of them. So I'm kind of hoping that Alabama loses. That Houston game can kind of sneak in there because that just eliminates three-quarters of the team. But I filled out my second chance bracket. I mean, obviously, you gotta love Alabama over SDU. Even though I think SDU is going to put up a little bit of a fight, I don't think that it's not going to be as
And
easy
that
as the
coach,
first two games for Bama.
that's a veteran coach there in San Diego State who knows what he's doing, and he might have a game plan against Alabama. By the way, Alabama, talk about bad karma. You get the kid with the gun on the basketball team, then somebody on the football team, another incident happens. I mean, hello, where are you going to place these players in Alabama? They run rim shot on the state? Come on.
They think they're on top of the world there, but it's funny what Nick Saban said. I mean, they asked Nick Saban about the one for the football team that it happened on, and I believe Nick Saban called out, the head coach of the basketball team because when this whole thing was going on for Allen and Alabama with the whole, alleged gun situation, the Alabama head coach, what did he say? He said, "Oh no, he's innocent. It was just wrong place at the wrong time." And what does Saban do? He goes, "There's no such thing as wrong place at the right time at the wrong time."
Yeah.
It's just the scenarios that they put themselves into. It led to the choices that they made. So Saban, I mean, say what you want about Saban. I mean, that's just one of the things that he rocks at. I mean, just the fact that he's even holding other coaches accountable. He's a leader of men, and that's completely true. Where there's no wrong place at the wrong time. If he's calling out a colleague, that's fine by him. I mean, Alabama has certainly been plagued with a whole bunch of scandals with their players. It just crazy stuff what's going on there. Like you said, I don't know. I don't know what happens there.
All right, let's move on. Again, we'll do some more wrap up on the Sweet 16 next week. As we right, so yeah, by end of the weekend, by Sunday night, we'll have the Final Four, correct? So
Oh yeah,
we'll discuss
it'll
that.
be.
Yeah, so
I think
yeah,
we got double headers Thursday, Friday, and
yep.
then Saturday, Sunday as well. And we'll have that Final Four locked up. I mean, I like Alabama as much as I love Creighton and their Cinderella's team. I think that just falls short. Creighton's gonna, like I said, they shoot the lights out. Florida Atlantic over Tennessee. I mean, I had Duke going far in this tournament. A lot of my brackets, I had them going Final Four. I mean, just John Shire had them humming at the end of the year after a very bad start to the season. They made pretty easy work of Oral Roberts, and that's a lot of difference between the teams that are going to go far and the teams that don't. Where if you're on the ropes in round one, it's just I don't think you ever get your confidence back from that. But if you're in Alabama, if you're in a Duke where you cruise in round one easily, you start to build momentum there. So that's what I thought with Duke. And then a shocking loss to Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee is a fantastic defensive team. So I really think that they threw a lot of things at Duke that they weren't expecting. But I mean, Tennessee versus Florida Atlantic, you got to go Tennessee. I mean, two really impressive wins for Tennessee in Louisiana and then Duke. So I got to go Tennessee. Kansas State, Michigan State. I mean, that's tough. I mean, you have an emotional giant in Michigan State where they're playing for a whole lot more than just a trophy against Kansas State, where they obviously get no love. I mean, I'd love to see Michigan State go forward, but I think the end of the line stops with Kansas State. So, I mean, those are a couple games I'm looking at. But overall, as much as the madness happens between all these teams, it always pans out where you get, two 1 seeds, a 2 seed, and then like a Cinderella team. So my Final Four, I mean, I'm going Houston, UCLA. I love it. And then I could see Alabama, Michigan State, or Kansas State. I think either one of those teams does beat Tennessee. But I mean, my ideal Final Four in games that I'd want to see: Alabama, Tennessee, and then Houston, UCLA. Even though that Gonzaga UCLA team, whoever wins that game, they could easily go to the finals.
I tell you though, Tom Izzo, man, you cannot bet against the guy. That sports betting is everywhere. That is one guy you cannot bet against. Marquette was one of the hottest teams in the country, and they spanked them. I saw someone say there was some kind of controversial call at the end or something with a jump baller. I wasn't watching the game, unfortunately, but Tom Izzo, Tom Izzo can go into the tournament with a 12-18 record, win the Big Ten tournament to get in, because obviously you're not getting in at 12-18, and you still don't bet against him because he'll find a way to win.
And it's just guys like him. I mean, anytime Syracuse gets in, it seems like they're always going to the Sweet 16, Elite Eight. That's another guy in Boeheim. But I mean, Izzo, there's just something about him. I think he passed John Wooden for the most Sweet 16 appearances, I want to say. I think he got 15 of them. Don't take me on that, but I know he did pass Wooden. I think the number is 15 though for the most Sweet 16 appearances, which is just crazy for Michigan State. And I mean, they are an extremely well-coached team. They always just generate talent over talent. But I mean, just the fact that with the tragedy that happened earlier this year, they're, like I said, they're playing for a whole lot more than just the March Madness title. So going up against Kansas State, which is a pretty advantageous lineup, even though Michigan State hasn't really played. I mean, they played a Shaka Smart team, and they played, I believe it was USC. So even though they did prove it because they're a 7 seed, they have yet to have, that big upset game, just like a Princeton, where they're like, all right, we belong here. But I mean, just the contrast between Izzo and Michigan State and Shaka Smart in Marquette. I mean, just Shaka Smart has lost 8 of his last 9 NCAA tournament games. It's just some people just are not born, or just some coaches, just whatever happens as soon as they get there, it's just they're at their best. They have their teams at their best ready. And then even though I love Shaka Smart, I want to root for him, whether he's at Texas, VCU. It's just, man, it just can't get over that hump. It's mind-boggling.
I wish I knew that stat last week before I picked my bracket, Steve.
Yeah, me too. I had Marquette in one of my Final Fours. Might even have them winning too. But if not, they were definitely in my Final Four. And when I saw that, I was like, why did I pick that? But yeah, they won. Oh my goodness, just Shaka Smart. Just you never know. But Izzo's doing a fantastic job. It's all about head coaching in especially college. I mean, you got a lot of these programs, Gonzaga, UCLA, obviously Alabama, Creighton. Love their head coach and McDermott. Michigan State, just it's all about coaching in the end.
Yep.
But is there a Final Four that you want to look at? Are those basically the teams, the Bama, the Houston? I mean, what's the Bobby Blackjack Final Four that you want to see, or what you think is going to happen?
Let me pull it up real quick.
So I know you might be rooting for Princeton. Are you rooting for Princeton to take down Alabama?
Nah,
I think we all are.
I can see him win one more game. All right. Obviously, I'm rooting for Florida Atlantic on my guy playing there. Yeah, Kansas State, Michigan State. I mean, I would never go against Michigan State. So out of that bracket, I'll say Michigan State. You go above that, Creighton. Wow, Princeton 15. Imagine that 15. Well, yeah, it happened last year. But Princeton again, sound defense. Somebody in the group had the line of the week. I don't know if you saw that. She goes, "Wow, Missouri just got spanked by a bunch of future hedge fund managers."
Right, like they got it all. They're gonna have plenty of money. They're gonna, you know, they're good-looking kids. They really have to be good at basketball too. Like there are just some people where they're good at sports, and that's really what they hang on to. All these kids are they're gonna do well in life, and
Yeah.
just the fact that they're going this far, it's just insult to injury, right? I mean, just all these brainiacs on the basketball court too. Oh my goodness.
I guess I want to see Alabama win, only get spanked by somebody in the Final Four. So, and the other side of the bracket, I get Houston again, smaller schools, not small school, but smaller conference. And you know what? I guess I would have to.
They need Sasser at Houston. They need him. He didn't look really good in the first round. Or I'm sorry, he didn't look good because they lost in the championship game to Memphis, I think, Houston. And then he didn't play one of the games, I think. So they need Marcus Sasser if Houston's going to go. And I think I think Houston's going to go to the Final Four, but that's tough being on the ropes with their star player. That's even though they are they are a very good defensive team, and they can match up with anyone. They need Sasser because he's their MVP for Houston.
And the other bracket, I'm pretty wide open because I have Gonzaga, winning it all in my last live bracket, but I also can see UConn, very well built team, do well as also. So I'm pretty open on that one. Real quick before we move on to some quick NFL news, let's address the whole Ed Cooley Patino situation in the Big East that unfolded
Hmm.
this week. Um,
Yeah, I mean, oh, go
apparently,
ahead.
apparently, about a month ago, when when Providence was playing at Georgetown, Ed Cooley met with the AD of Georgetown for lunch. Excuse me, and maybe some stuff was hammered out at that time, and then soon thereafter, he puts his house up for sale. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know. I'm sure you know the name John Rothstein, who covers basketball a lot of. Actually, sat next to him a few times at the Seton Hall games. He broke the story that Ed Cooley's house was on Zillow for sale. This speculation has been going for a few weeks now. Now, all of a sudden, Providence did not end the season well. I mean, my Seton Hall Pirates spanked them final game of the season by 20 on the road. And then they lost in the first round of the March Madness.
Hmm.
So apparently, he wanted this Georgetown job. And like you said, sometimes you just want a new challenge. But what smells a bit fishy is this whole back end under the table type dealing that apparently happened that has the Providence AD pretty pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, I mean, Patino lost, and then there was a report that came out an hour ago, or an hour later, that Patino was going to accept the St. John's job. It's just, college is a different animal. It's just sketchy stuff that happens there. I mean, obviously, stuff would happen underneath the table. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Well,
And whether it's just that he's leaving, so like, oh, why not just reach reach out anyway? The penalty, if we get him, we get him, and the penalty will bite that bullet when it gets there.
yeah, the whole Patino thing I mentioned to you guys last week. Um, like I say, he lives on a golf course in Westchester. Maybe his commute is now half hour, 45 minutes with traffic. We all know there's traffic in New York, right? So maybe his commute is a bit longer. But there was no way he was going to Georgetown or anywhere else. He was either staying at Iona or he was going to St. John's because he loves his life. He gets to still live on the golf course and take a little bit longer of a commute to build a storied franchise to where it was in the '80s. St. John's.
Yeah, and I mean,
He's 71 years old. Is probably his last opportunity, and he's,
mhm.
he's gonna run with it.
Yeah, it's his last opportunity. And also, I mean, obviously they're always in the tournament because they always win their championship and they always get the title. And then you go up against a team like UConn who was beatable. I mean, for the beginning of that first half, I mean, UConn ran away in the second half, but in that first half, Iona was there. They were knocking on the door. They made it interesting. But, just at the end of the day, it's a program. It's just program against a high-powered program in UConn against just a second-tier unit in Iona, and it's tough to get people to come to Iona. I know Rick Pitino is the master recruiter, wink, wink, for back in the day, but just when you're a coach and you're looking at it, and it's just Iona gave him a chance, so you had to take that opportunity to get your foot back in the door into college basketball. But it's just tough to stay there and build a program when people are going to better conferences, better teams that offer much more incentives because the colleges can. And just, Iona did him a favor by bringing him back. I'm sure that Iona's incredibly indebted to Patino, but at the end of the day, going to St. John's, you can get players at St. John's. It's tough getting guys to Iona. I think he realizes that. I mean, definitely now, but from the jump, it's tough. And I mean, Patino,
I happen
St.
to love New
John's.
Rochelle. I think that's my favorite city in Westchester is New Rochelle. They're on the other end of Long Island Sound. They take a boat out. You're on the ocean in an hour, right? They're passing you on Long Island, waving hello. And I
Yeah,
don't
I've only been there once, New Rochelle, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about it. But yeah, I'm on the water on Long Island. I wave at all the boats that go by. So maybe I've seen them.
yeah, you never know.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I didn't even see the terms of the deal. I don't know if you did for Patino. I mean, I'm sure they threw him the bag, but just
The funniest thing I saw
funny.
too this week was someone had a line like Rick Pitino was doing NIL today when it was illegal 10 years ago. You know, what he did 10 years ago is now finally legal, and they could probably now we can play within the rules. But
Oh yeah.
we'll see what happens there. And
Hmm.
one last thing is um, they still haven't announced the Providence coach. I don't think yet. There was some speculation that Bobby Hurley was going to leave Arizona State and join his brother in the Big East. That would have made the Big East the funnest basketball conference in the history of basketball, college
In the
basketball.
history of the Big East.
You got two
Yeah.
Hurley brothers. You got Rick Pitino. You got Holloway. You got Cooley, who just burned one program to go to another in Georgetown and build them back up. You got all those coaches that came in from like Shaka Smart, the other guy who came in, Miller, who came in as Xavier, now doing a great job. They're in the Sweet 16. Oh man! But now I think Bobby Hurley signed a contract extension in Arizona State, and they haven't
Mhm.
announced the coach yet for Providence. But that could
It
that
was
could be a
only
big thing.
6 hours ago when they did. They did hire. They did hire their head coach, Providence.
Oh, who is it?
Uh, George Mason's Kim English, and he's a young guy too. He's like 30,
Okay, I missed that today. They also
34.
speculated Speedy Claxton from Hofstra for that
Oh,
job too.
really?
But
I mean, Hofstra's always got a team.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Hofstra has and that's his home. So sometimes like a Holloway or a Sheen Holloway or a Speedy Claxton, yeah, maybe Seton Hall and Hofstra aren't the most glamorous jobs in the world, but when it's your alma mater, it means more to you. So all
Yeah.
right, no, I'm,
So,
I'm done with basketball for now. I'm a little basketball now. Let's move on to a
right.
little NFL talk.
Ugh, I know. After Sunday, it's just like you want to watch it because after Sunday, then there's only one game at a time, and you don't have 3 or 4 games on. But at the end, your eyes are my eyes were bleeding. I'm like, all right, no more basketball until Thursday. I can't even look at it. But man, what a good first 2 days. I'm sure Doc Holliday's jumping for joy with his Arkansas Razorbacks that beat
Yeah,
Kansas. But when we get him on, I'm sure he'll be there to gloat. So yeah, moving on to the
and
NFL.
his son also was the one who sold him on Furman.
Really,
He said he saw Furman play in their championship game of their conference. He said, I guess he told his dad, this team is good, and Doc took him. Doc was showing me, after the first round of games on Thursday, he was like third ranked in the country on his bracket because
I'd be lying.
He had Furman.
I'd be lying if I said that didn't make my blood boil. Because, yeah, after the second round, he was 151st in the nation, and considering his next bracket, he was 2 million. So that just shows you how many brackets he was. 151st. I know he made a lot of very good parlays, and I think it was after partially. I think it was like after Thursday. He was like number one or something like that. Doc Holliday for the win for the all. I think he named his brackets All Point Sports. So
He
good
did.
little
Man.
advertisement there
All
for all
right,
the
there we go,
people
baby. There we
looking
go.
up. Yeah. Oh my goodness,
All right,
Doc
so I'll
Holliday. He
let
knows
you.
how to pick them.
Yeah, I'll let you lead off on the NFL news because it's not breaking news right now, but let's analyze the Jets trade. Take it away.
The Jets made a trade, and it was so fascinating of what happened because the Jets hadn't really done anything in free agency because they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. That's a big salary. Now, of course, they can be flexible because they do have guys, whether it's Carl Lawson, whether it's Corey Davis. They have a couple of guys already moved on from Braxton Berrios. They have a couple flexible pieces where they can move it around for cap space. But I mean, overall, Aaron Rodgers is that big fish that they're reeling in. They did sign Alan Lazard, kind of a team-friendly deal, it's a 4-year, but really a 2-year deal at 11 million each. But they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers, right? They haven't really done anything in free agency. So there's just this little move that comes out where the Jets sign Mecole Hardman today, 1 year up to $6 million, and a very smart move by Joe Douglas because they traded away they cut Braxton Berrios, who was an all-pro returner, awful returning punts last year. My goodness, can you let a ball go when you're inside the 10-yard line? I mean, I thought that was like the cardinal rule in the NFL. If you're inside the 10-yard line, you let it bounce, and if it goes into the end zone, that's it. If you fair catch it at the 6, I don't know what you're thinking about. So, Mecole Hardman, a fantastic returner too. I think it was like an all. I think it was like an all pro there in Kansas City as a return man. He's a burner. I think everyone was thinking that he was going to be like Tyreek Hill 2.0. But they did sign Mecole Hardman to kind of shore up that wide receiver room. They got Davis, they got Wilson, they got Lazard. And everyone was kind of going, oh, well, goodbye, Eli Moore. Everyone was saying that Eli Moore is going to the Packers. They're saying, oh, he's going to be traded to the Packers. They're going to trade him elsewhere. There's no way that the Jets are keeping him. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, Mecole Hardman wasn't very uh, healthy last year. I mean, Alan Lazard wasn't very healthy last year. I think they'd want to just shore up that wide receiver room for Aaron Rodgers. And lo and behold, right after they signed Mecole Hardman, Braxton Berrios, hey, he was my favorite, Braxton Berrios. He's a real team guy. After they signed Mecole Hardman, an hour later, you get the deal and the news that Eli Moore and the Jets' third rounder goes to Cleveland, of all places, for a second rounder. And the deal is official. Eli Moore, who really had just a tumultuous, I mean, he only played 17 games for the Jets, but just a tumultuous way to kind of end his career. Definitely not a fan favorite. I mean, looking back last year, when you're 6-3 going into the bye, you just beat the number one ranked Bills, Super Bowl favorites. The Jets, just 6-3, a team that everyone thought was going to start out 0-10, 1-9. If you're Brady Quinn, what a schmuck that guy is. But I mean, 6-3, you're going into and then Eli Moore requests a trade. He's saying, I want out when the good times are rolling. He was really just a locker room, just cancer for them. So Eli Moore finally gets a fresh start in Cleveland after a Jets tenure, only 17 games too, right? Like, who requests in their second year in the NFL to request a trade? So he was definitely not a fan favorite. So he gets a fresh start in Houston, Cleveland, and what do the Jets get? They get an extra second rounder. And Bobby, it makes you scratch your head because they now have picks 43 and 44. Do you think that they're going to use 2 second rounders, or do you think that there's something kind of laying down there brewing for the Jets? As I mentioned, the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because I think the Jets are pretty damn adamant that they are not giving up a first-round draft pick for Aaron Rodgers.
And time is not, anyone's friend, but both of them have plenty of time. The Jets and the Packers. It's just a waiting game. The Packers are going, yeah, we'll take our time here. We'll wait you out. We got Jordan Love that we want to start, and the Jets are going, fine, have a $50 million backup. No one else wants Aaron Rodgers. He said that it's his intention to come here, so we can wait too. So just the fact that nothing's getting done, and Packers, they think that they're going to get a first rounder and more. I mean, they can be a very stubborn organization, as we've seen with Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, give me a break.
And I'll tell you, the elephant in the room right now in NFL free agency is Lamar Jackson, because he pretty much has the blessing of the Ravens to go, hey, go get your own contract. If we want to match it, we will. If not, goodbye. So can you imagine like the Jets coming, getting fed up with the Packers and saying, you know what? Let's use these assets. Let's get Lamar Jackson. We have enough cap space. And that guy, I'm not a big Lamar Jackson fan. Don't get me wrong. I think the league has caught up to him, myself, for the most part. But he's still 26 years old, a former NFL MVP. They don't grow on trees, right? So if you have that cap space, go for it. I believe what I've been reading this week, the two teams right now you got to look out for are the Lions and the Colts for Lamar Jackson. But can you imagine the Jets, Woody Johnson saying, F you, Green Bay. We're going to go get Lamar Jackson. You're stuck with a $50 million backup now.
And hey, if you know what, if you're the Jets, I'm sure another thing that's advantageous to them, they're going to say, all right, well, we'll draft 3 new starting pieces, and we'll give you next year's pick. So not only do we have 3 top 50 picks, 3 of them, excuse me there for that little brain fart, that we'll use in this draft to surround Aaron Rodgers with, and then we'll give you next year's. So you don't even have your pick of the litter this year. You got to wait next year. So that's another thing that's working out for them. There are some reports that are saying that it's already done. They're waiting to announce it. I mean, if that were the case, we would have had people saying they agreed in principle. I don't think there's any waiting going around there. I think that they are still kind of haggling because would the Jets have liked to have kept Eli Moore? I think so, just because it's a reasonable deal. It's a reasonable deal. Just, it's a young wide receiver. Even though he causes trouble, you're going to have a new quarterback. So why not have a decent wide receiver? Even though I think Eli Moore is way overhyped, considering awful hands, couldn't stay healthy his first year, and just the fact that he's an all around just jerk, as we've seen.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, just trading that for a pick straight up. I mean, going from Eli Moore in a third to a second. I mean, the chart there, that's not a lot in terms of value for Eli Moore. I don't think a lot of teams realize that. So just the fact that the Jets trading up and trading away a player too, because you don't see a lot of player for. I mean, the NFL is a very in basketball we see it all the time. Obviously, it doesn't happen in baseball. We see it in hockey a lot, but really in football, a player for pick. Any trades like that, I mean, just kind of straight up. It's interesting. Doesn't happen as often, or just like a throw-in, because that's what it seemed like with Eli Moore. I mean, a third and more for a second. Not too much of a change there in terms of sliding down 20 something spots, maybe 30 something spots. So the chart didn't really favor that deal for the Jets, but just crazy how just they go from a 44th pick, Mike giving it to Green Bay. And now if you give that pick to Green Bay, you still got a second rounder because they need an offensive line. They need a defensive line. So, good moves by Joe Douglas, at least to have that backup plan. But just all in all, at the end of the day, you need Aaron Rodgers on this team to close the book. We know what we're giving away, so we can stop all this will they, won't they stuff.
Another intriguing aspect, Steve, is if they wait till the draft to do this, or after the draft to make this trade official, then they keep their draft stock for this year. So anything they give away to get Aaron Rodgers comes from next year's draft or the year after.
Yeah.
Another thing to look at as well is that aspect.
Oh yeah, and if you're the Jets, you are fine with that because, like I said, they have 3 top 50 picks, and that's a whole lot of value that you could surround Aaron Rodgers with. In that first round, you can get an offensive tackle. In the second round, you can get safety, and then right after that, a wide receiver, and then bada bing, bada boom. That's the Jets would take that any day, and I think the Packers, they're acting calm, cool, and collected, but in a month when the draft is the week of, I think that's when things are going to heat up because it seemed like after Aaron Rodgers announced his intentions to come to the Jets, everyone's going to say, all right, they got to get this done in the next 48 hours. He knows it. They know it. Let's just get this done with and stop all the waiting. But the fact that something still hasn't happened yet, there are all these different theories, like I said, where, it's done, but they're just not announcing it yet. Oh, they're going to wait until June 1st. There's a whole plethora of stuff that's going on there that's way beyond my pay grade of what I could know. I think at the end of the day, it's not that complicated, and they're just stuck on a deal. And I do think that the Green Bay Packers are just being a little bit stubborn. And I think when the closer they get to it, as I look on my phone, as the Knicks did lose in regular, they're not losing overtime. They lost to the Heat by 7, which is just awful way to go considering that awful loss against the Timberwolves. But going back to the Jets, I mean, they're just waiting on to come up with a deal. And like you said, once that week comes of the draft, I think they're going to put the pedal to the metal. They're going to want to pick this year because just like we're saying, if they don't get on a deal this year and they got to give it next year, those are 3 top 50 picks that you could surround Aaron Rodgers with. I'm sure with a brand new quarterback like Jordan Love, who started 1 game in his career, I'm sure the Packers want to get someone right there in the building, another extra body and a second round pick or whatever it is, to surround him with. So I'm sure the Packers are thinking the exact same thing too.
No doubt. And just a mess right now. Some other news out there. Beckham, wants to come to the Giants, but we don't have any money left right now.
And that whole Eli Moore trade, that opened up a wide thing of conspiracy theories that Odell might go to the Jets. And I know Connor Hughes who's a very good reporter for the Jets. He said that there's serious interest for the Jets with Beckham. I'd love it, but I'd hate it. But I think that Moore deal strikes a whole bunch of different avenues that you can go. Do you think that he wants to go to the Giants? But I do think that if he can't go to the Giants, he's going to go to the Jets. I think it's just his heart is in New York.
That's a loaded. How many receivers do you have right now? Now, I'm not counting Corey Davis. I'm pretty sure Corey Davis is a cut.
Well, that's the thing, too. I mean, could they be looking at wide receiver in the draft? Maybe, but I think that's an outside chance. I think they are going to go offensive tackle with that 13th pick, maybe in the second round. But as far as the wide receiver room, I mean, at the end of at the end of the season, they had Wilson 1, Eli Moore 2, Davis 3, Berrios 4, and Jeff Smith 5. Eli Moore is traded, Berrios is gone, Jeff Smith is gone. So now you have Wilson, Lazard, Davis. But I mean, just the fact that they traded away Davis, they traded away Moore, and you have Hardiman, who's now going into that Eli Moore spot. You have two guys on the outside and Wilson and Lazard. That it's a possibility that they might keep Corey Davis around because I mean, why wouldn't they have cut him already? I'm sure when
You
Rodgers
still have
comes
the
in,
big guy?
the big guy, the wide receiver,
Yeah.
Mims.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mims is a rotation guy now. It's a shame that really couldn't
No,
make it work out with him.
The guy plays. He produces too.
Yeah, when he does play, but it's just I don't know if it's funny how a lot of these NFL general managers or head coaches sometimes that they will pound the table to get involved. Like this is our guy. We drafted him. Like we want him to produce, but he's just buried in the depth chart. They never gave him a chance up until that Eli Moore incident where he really got playing time after that. Before that, nothing really happened there. So I think there's a possibility that Davis stays because they do love. Listen, he's an injury liability. He's gonna get hurt. His hands just make me absolutely just. He has the worst hands in the league, in my opinion. But beyond all that, he is a veteran. He's an excellent run blocker. I think they do value that in the scheme that Robert Saleh wants to run because it's still kind of a West Coast Shanahan type of offense under Hackett, and it's a veteran wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. But between the drops and the salary cap and the injuries, I think he is gone. But more slides in for Berrios is. You have Wilson and Lazard on the outside. There's a possibility they might keep Davis because, like I said, why wouldn't they have cut him before free agency to save that money? So it's interesting. I'm with you that I think he gets cut, but him hanging around here doesn't really make the case for that, at least as of yet. So Beckham, would you want to see Beckham on the Jets? I mean, there are plenty of other better places, should I say? That seems like a more better fit, where he's not kind of with all the wide receivers that we said.
No, exactly. I think there's. I'd rather see him play somewhere where you can watch him do his magic. Right. I'm not saying he can't do it with the Jets, but he's going to be right in the middle of the depth chart. Right. He can go to Baltimore, which has been speculated, and be a stud because they don't really have anybody there.
Even the Rams. I mean, he was great with Stafford in the Super Bowl and the run leading up to it. I mean, Allen Robinson did nothing on the team. So he fit in great there with the Rams, even though they probably don't have the money for that. They're better fits for Beckham. But even in the end, too, if the Jets, they have Garrett Wilson, you want to get as many targets to that kid as possible because he is special. And Odell Beckham was special, but I think tossing him in there, that just takes a couple targets away from Garrett Wilson. And you do not want to do any. Last year, despite having Zach Wilson, he still had 1,000 yards. It makes you just wonder, how many yards could he have had if he didn't have Mike White, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson throwing to him? So he's special where I'm a little leery about giving a spot to Odell Beckham where you're taking spots or targets away from him. So that's another concern of mine.
Yeah, all right. Here's our final subject of the evening for this Wednesday night here, All Point Sports. WBC. Did you watch that game last night?
I did. I'm not gonna lie. At the beginning, I did not care about it. I wouldn't have watched it if it was in my backyard. But it's funny how I think a lot of people played themselves. Where a lot of people were complaining about the WBC because of the Edwin Diaz injury, and for me, it sounds kind of sick to say this. But that kind of made me want to watch it. Where it was all controversial because everyone's talking about it. That's the thing. A couple years ago, when the WBC was happening, no one talked about it. No one knew it was happening. It got no coverage. But I think as more of this controversy came along, now they did build that, dream team like Team USA basketball did in 2012. The Michael Jordan team in the 90s. They built up that dream team with Trout, Goldschmidt, Arenado, even though they didn't build up a dream team of arms, but more with a batting lineup. I think a whole lot of that played well because, as they say, bad publicity is publicity. And I think the more scandals that came in, the more, social media punks that were going on and saying, hey, the WBC, cancel it. Oh, my star closer got hurt. This guy got hurt. Let's just, stop the madness. I think that kind of drew some more people to the WBC, as sick as it sounds, just with all the madness that was surrounding it. So I think that played into the hands well. But I did watch yesterday. I did not watch the first round, but as the games kept progressing and getting to the better rounds, I'm like, all right, this is kind of getting interesting. When we got to the semifinals, we were locked on our chair, and Team USA wins. So that was awesome. Let's do it again Tuesday. That was fun.
I think the only major issue with this is like you said, pitchers need to be built up and then warmed down throughout the season. They build their arms up now, okay. September hits, October hits. If you're not a playoff team, you start resting that arm again a little bit to get ready for next year. So, so pitchers are going to be so hard to get, I guess, because when are they going to when do you play this game, and the pitchers aren't going to be fearful of blowing an elbow out or a shoulder out or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
issue. And everybody's saying have it at the end of the season, but then again, if you're not a playoff team, you're kind of locked out. Your mind's all right. We're done. Let's get ready for next year. If you are a playoff team, there's no way in hell you're sending your top pitcher to play. When you're trying to win a World Series. All right. Then they're saying, oh, let's play the Classic in the middle of the season. Okay.
It's just like the Pro Bowl too. It's exactly like it. Where do we put it? Because we want people to play. I mean, for a lot of these, basically any country outside of the U.S., this is their Super Bowl. This is their opportunity to show themselves to the world. They want to be in it. They want to represent their country. They have pride. Where as far as the Team USA, not much going on there. Where a lot of players are going, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to be in there. Even though we had a very good showing this year, I think just there's a much bigger demand for countries outside the USA where it's all right. I want to be in the WBC, where even there's some people, like you mentioned, there are a lot of injury concerns, but I think that's another part of it where it's just some people don't want to play just because they don't want to play.
And
It's like the Pro Bowl.
I know, and it was funny. I know they called out Stanton and Judge, like, why aren't you guys here? This is a dream team of offense, missing two of your big sluggers of the game. But the only way I can see this working also is, again, I watched a little bit of the last two games the USA played in. I had no idea who the hell was pitching for USA. I don't know who the hell those guys were.
Isn't that awful? I mean, respect to Adam Wainwright, who's like 60 years old and he's still pitching. He's like, I don't care. I got the rubber arm. Let me go out there and toss, 4 innings. That was really the only guy that I knew. Like you said, just there's no arms. And
but yeah, you knew Yu Darvish. You knew, obviously.
For Team USA, they had nothing. But, I mean, they brought it out to play.
Unless
countries.
Unless you do it where you probably can't do this. I'm just speculating here. Maybe there's some kind of provision where your pitching roster has to be high-end amateurs who are maybe just out of college or something, or if you're playing these games after the season, same pitchers you're sending to the Arizona Fall League, you're sending there instead to get work, to get noticed, to get to work on some stuff. Otherwise, I don't know. But you know what? It's back in 3 years, and I think what they were saying, the ratings were enormous. They said Japan versus Taiwan was like the biggest baseball game ever watched internationally or something. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean the Puerto Rico game, I think it had like 60 million viewers. I mean there are people that watch it. There's a very strong demand for it outside the US. I mean, the US-Japan game, I think it was on Fox, it got like 5 million views, which is a good number for baseball. That's very good for the WBC. That really, means nothing in terms of the MLB season. So 5 million, I think, was the number for Fox. But like I said, I mean, I just saw the one number for the Puerto Rico game where it was 60 million. I wouldn't put it on the scale of the World Cup, but it's definitely in the conversation of where other countries are like, yeah, we got to watch this. This is, something that we want to have pride in. This is a good event.
You want to knock Edwin Diaz for getting hurt celebrating, but this means something to them, especially the Latin countries and the Asian countries. You're playing against rival countries, and it means something to them. It may not mean much to the U.S. like that, but I'll tell you though, you name me one Pro Bowl or one NBA All-Star game where Ohtani versus Trout last night was not like must-watch sports, and only an exhibition, right? When you think about it,
Yeah.
That was intense.
It built up well. I mean, even though they didn't pinch hit for Real Muto, which they should have done because first pitch he popped up and then he couldn't get McNeil over, and then I think it was Betts,
That's yeah,
or
that's a stupid
or
double.
maybe it was the eighth inning.
No, Betts had
The eighth inning when
figures that ex-Red Sox guy, right? Idiot.
yeah,
Wasn't
he hit
doing
into that double play, which was just ridiculous. It was the eighth inning when Real Muto came in, and I said they should have pinch hit because I think they had another runner on scoring position. That's what bit the U.S. in the end. They just couldn't capitalize. It wasn't the pitching because the Japan didn't really have as many runs, so it wasn't really on the pitching. It was just they didn't capitalize on it. In the MLB, you got to hit with runners in scoring position. I think they were I think they were 0 for. I think they were either 0 for 6 or 1 for 7 or something like that. It was a pretty bad number. But I mean, I think the U.S. losing is good because you have guys like Mike Trout who said this is the most fun I've had. Now, go figure. It's Mike Trout. He's on the Angels. But you have someone like him who he's like, all right, this is the most fun I've ever had. I'm definitely coming back. And if they won, it's like, all right, we got our ring. That's all I care about. But the fact that they lost, now it's like, all right, we gotta get the squad back together. We're not losing again in 3 years. I think that's kind of going to hit their egos a little.
I tell you, looking ahead, Steve. 2026, 3 years from now, World Baseball Classic. You're gonna have the World Cup in here in North America. That could be the greatest sports year of in the history of sports. My God, two of your major sports having their showcase games in the same. Football is getting bigger and badder. Basketball is basketball. I mean,
I think that's the year Arch Manning is eligible for the draft, I believe, too. So that would be some. Just the fact that he's coming in there, he's like the next Peyton Manning. But yeah, 2026. I think that'll be a great year. So yeah, we got the WBC, you said World Cup. That'll be a good slate. I'm gonna mark my calendar for that. That'll be. I like it.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, all the WBC games. I mean the playoffs part of it. It's all played here, right?
I believe so.
I think the first rounds are played elsewhere, or is everything played here? I forget.
I think it's all in the U.S. because I remember clips from a couple years ago where it was because yeah, like you said, they played in all just the MLB ballparks. I was thinking that the other day where do they go elsewhere? Is just because it's in the middle of the spring training for the MLB? It's like all right, everyone's got to come to the USA if they want to play.
All right, and
Look that up right now.
I believe a Cuban catcher defected. Okay, here we go. It's great. And one last thing that's on my mind is how much money is Shohei Ohtani going to get next year on the free agent market?
He is going to get a blank check, and it is going to be from the Dodgers because he probably would not want to move out of Los Angeles. I think he does want to stay out west. I think there's a reason why the Dodgers did not make a lot of moves this year, or not a lot of long expanding moves, I guess, where they make a lot of long-term deals. They were suspiciously quiet for the Dodgers of all teams, where they didn't do a lot of big money moves as they usually would. Now, is that because the free agent class wasn't as strong, but they had guys like Trey Turner, who they obviously could have re-signed, especially now with the Gavin Lux injury. Doesn't make it look any better that they didn't re-sign Trey Turner. They can outbid with anyone, or they can go toe for toe with anyone and outbid anyone. But he's going to be the first $500 million athlete, and he's going to get a very long-term deal because it's not like if you're a pitcher when you're 38, that's it. If you're a batter, whenever he can do either or, and he's amazing at both. So he's going to do both, but when it comes to a certain age, he can still be productive on one side. So he's easily going to get $500 million. Now, do you think the Yankees are going to get involved?
I'm more scared of the Mets getting involved. Steve Cohen does not care. He does not care. If you watch Billions, who it's modeled after him, he doesn't care.
He does, but how much higher can they go? I mean, it's 350, but adding on, if they give him what, $50 million? How much is Trout getting paid on an annual deal? Because he's got to get at least $10 million more.
Is it Trout 40?
Mike Trout earns, just about $40 million a year. So, I mean, Shohei, he's going to get 50. He's probably going to get 10 for 50. I think Yeah, Shohei's 28, so you can get a 12, 13-year deal if he wants to. I mean, that's the MLB now. I mean, if Xander Bogaerts at age 31 can get an 11-year deal, and some people are crazy enough to do that, then you can bet your rear end the Padres are going to be in on him as well. So I think in the end, it's going to be the Dodgers versus the Padres. The Mets are going to get involved, but I don't think Ohtani is going to give him really the time of day. I just think that he wants to stay on the West. I think the West Coast is more advantageous for I think between like the Mariners and the Dod. I mean, those are really teams that just I think it's more just West Coast teams that like Japanese players could be more comfortable with. For some reason, I mean, I don't really know the last one that the Yankees and the Mets have pulled, but yeah, I think that would make me go wild if the Mets signed Ohtani. I don't think they can do it with the money, but I don't think the Yankees are gonna get involved. I think that's
I
too
mean,
much for
they
them. I
almost
think
got Correa for another 300 million.
they did. They did.
You know?
That's
I mean, this guy wants to win
maybe right
so
there.
bad that he'll do anything to win.
I think the Dodgers are going to throw the bag at him. I think they'll go toe for toe. And I think the money that you're going to see is absurd. It's going to be a blank check. But I mean, 12 years, 50 million. That's 50 million a year. I mean, that's what it could likely be, and I cannot wait for it because that's going to break the market. Uh, no one's going to be Shohei Ohtani, but I think that that's going to set a new threshold for Major League Baseball.
Hey, all right, real quick, and let's wrap it up. I think, hey, we did almost an hour, 15 minutes. That's great. You and I just talking sports, and we barely
Yes.
touched. We didn't touch NBA at all or anything else like that, or even really the gist of baseball, which we'll get to next week. Because next week we'll have our MLB preview show. I believe Yankees start in 9 days, right?
Oh yeah, Yankees Giants too. They have a weird start to the schedule. The Yankees they play the Giants and then they play the Phillies I think too. That's
That'll be so stupid. They should have all the dome and warm weather teams should be playing home games in April. I mean, aside from opening day in the Bronx, who the F wants to go there when it's 45 degrees in the cold rain to watch the
what
Rangers?
what year
Nobody.
was it? Didn't it snow on opening day for the
A
Yankees?
few times. I've been there. I was there once opening day and it snowed. I had my giant. Remember? I don't know if you remember this. Remember this. You're a little bit younger than I am. Remember the starter pullovers back in the night? I don't know. Have you ever heard of those?
Yeah.
Starter made that pullover like winter jacket that everybody had in the '90s. I'm sure you heard of it from Legend and whatnot. Like the Hornets was the most popular one. So I remember wearing like my Giants pullover, uh, jacket, whatever you want to call that damn thing, to a Yankee game because it was so damn cold that day. On opening day.
It was 2018. The Yankees snowed out opening day. It's happened a couple times, but just, I mean, in March. I know it's such a long season. That's the thing. That just 162 games. Basically 200 days. I mean, you love it because it's on every night. We'll definitely dive a whole lot deeper into that next week. I cannot wait for baseball.
Steve, I'm
My
telling you,
roommate is a Red Sox fan, so he is
I'm, uh,
dreading the start of it, and I love it. But I
Steve,
cannot wait
Steve,
for
I'm
this
telling
Yankee
you,
team.
Steve, I don't want to be too hopeful or braggadocious, but I think the Martian's the next Trout. I think the Martin is the next Trout.
Isn't it amazing how in spring training, if something good happens, you overblow it, like, oh my God, the Yankees, they have a great record, they're gonna win the World Series. Or if it's like this year and they're playing bad, it's like, it's just spring training. But he's looked good. And how about Volpe? You think he
Him and
starts
Volpe, man. Ooh,
you think he starts the year on the roster, or do you think that Cashman goes with the extra year of eligibility?
I don't know. That's what drives me nuts too. Get rid of that. Get rid of that caveat. I mean, so many
The
teams
whole
use it against the players. It's bullshit.
we could we could do in a whole nother hour and 15 minutes on me just completely torching MLB service time and manipulation and free agency only being once, which affects the salary cap and contracts. I'm not even going to get into that because I'm sure you're tired. I'm a little tired too. And hey, we did a good amount, but I mean the Martian looks great. He looks good. The young guys,
We got to go.
Volpe looks
I'm not
good.
sure what your summer plans are. I know you're graduating, right? You're probably looking for a internship or a job when you graduate. But if you happen to be back up in the Catskills for a little bit, I think on a Sunday day off. I can even meet you there. We have to get a bunch of us, Doc, whatever. On a
Hmm.
Sunday day off, we got to take a ride over to the Poughkeepsie or no Newburgh Poughkeepsie area to watch the Martian play one day before he makes it big. And it could be Volpe too, because we don't know if Volpe is going to make it or not.
Yeah, it'd probably be like June where he'd get up if they pass that certain amount of time he's got to get through. So I mean, I'm down. I'd love to see the Martian play, and then that's double A, right?
Yeah, no, that's triple. That's double A, and then Scranton, which again
Scranton.
Scranton's the other way, 45 minutes.
Hmm.
Scranton's not that far from Villaroma because it's down 84, then you cut down and you're
Yeah,
there.
that was. I mean, when we had our little place in by Split Rock, we would always go to every. In the summer, we go to every Rail Riders game that we go to, and that was the baby bombers for my team that I watched growing up. You see 6'8" Judge in right field, and Sanchez and Bird and Rob Refsnyder to throw a couple names at you there. Yeah, I mean,
And how about
it's a
Steve?
good little another baby bomber regeneration, which is good because that added life in 2015. We need that again.
Another guy. We got Aaron Judge too coming up. We got Aaron Judge too, 6'6" monster freaking power hitter coming up.
We got Aaron Judge. Who could be playing left, left center. Bader is Stanton going to be there in right field. I know Stanton last year
I
had
happen
a
again real quick.
year to forget.
It's getting late. I happen to be a Cabrera fan, but I like
Mickey
I
or Oswald. Oswald.
yeah Milk. I think if it works out the right way, and we'll expand upon this more next week. If you have Calefa, if he's not traded, and you have Oswaldo Cabrera, both being those super guys who can play anywhere, that expands your bench a little bit because those guys can play anywhere and they can run. So that gives you a lot of different possibilities for defense or offense or stolen bases at the end of the games when it's a close game like that. And then that stupid guy in second in the extra innings too. But I'm excited about the Yankees this year. We'll talk more next week. Any final thoughts there, Mr. Byer?
Man, you got me all excited about the Yankees, even though that, if Kiner Falefa, just trade him to the Dodgers. Just do it. I'm just going to throw that out there. But anywho, because, I mean, we already got 5 infielders just like last year. But, I mean, I got to go back to the NCAA tournament where I think that Miami-Houston could be a game to watch on upset alert. Miami is humming. And, I mean, just Gonzaga, UCLA. I can't say enough about how excited I am for this game. 2 premier head coaches, 2 premier programs. Gonzaga has very talented big men. UCLA has very talented guards. Even though that one injury hasn't been able to stop UCLA, I think a second one, which dealt them in the round of 32, could be a little too much. But man, just all the basketball. I'm going Alabama and Tennessee. Just what an awesome first weekend we had. Let's do it again next week. Even though my bracket's busted, I'm not going to win a dime. It was amazing. So I mean, UConn. Yeah, let's go UCLA Gonzaga. That's my game to watch upcoming. I'm just psyched for another week of basketball.
Yeah, my last point would be, I'm a Seton Hall diehard graduate, cover the team, and whatnot, men's and women's. But the truth is, the further a UConn or a Creighton or a Xavier goes, the more money the school makes. All the schools make.
Yeah,
So
and it's good to
really
give a
helps in this
conference.
NIL world.
Yep, and it's good to give a conference a good look in the NCAA tournament because without Michigan State, the Big Ten looks like crap as far as the teams that they put out there and the performances that they had. So getting Big East teams like that involved and making good runs, it's good for college basketball.
And go Nick Boyd, baby. Make some noise tomorrow night. FAU, Florida Atlantic. We'll see you guys
Florida
next
Atlantic.
week. Doc will be back. Hopefully we'll have a guest or two joining us. But next week is the MLB preview show live here on All Points Sports. On behalf of Steve, on behalf of Doc, who's probably snoring with his bunny right now, probably cuddling on the couch. He works hard and he deserves it.
Oh yeah,
We'll be back
just
next
fine.
week.